Find my shadow person notes.
This dude gave us a 3-star iTunes review on iTunes today, and it's been fucking pissing me off all day.
What'd he say?
So fucking
3 stars, so rude.
so irritated.
Just commit, you piece of shit.
I legit would have rather had him give us a 1-star
Yeah, same.
review.
What'd he say?
He said
It's okay.
no. He said something fucking shitty.
This is all going on the podcast, by the way. This is how it's starting. Here, I'm going to play a beat now, but we were starting at the beginning of that.
He said, all right, fine. He goes,
Hi, it's a Loaded Podcast. I'm Spencer. That's Ryan.
hey.
Sometimes I just hit record and see what happens.
He goes 3.5 stars, actually.
Dicks.
So he rounded down.
This just gets worse
He
and
rounded
worse.
down, which is like, come on,
What an
man.
asshole.
You gonna round down?
What an asshole.
Great subjects, but please stop all the incessant banter and trying to force humor. Just stick to the topics, please, and this would be 5 stars.
Hell no. Hell no. Hell no.
No, dude.
Hey, guess what?
No.
Smash that pause button, homie.
Smash that delete out of your iTunes button and never hear from us again. That also would work. But you know what? That doesn't matter.
No, it does matter. It's great. That was fun.
It doesn't matter.
What's his name?
I'm not.
What's his name?
I'm not saying.
He wrote his name in a public forum. What is it?
Well, it's not a name. It's a username. It's
What
a
is
screen
it?
name. It's Cole.
ASL, bro.
It's Cole.
Of course it is. What a shitty name.
He's gonna go in and edit it and change it to 1 star and be like, all right, these guys were dicks to me because I gave them a bad review.
Yeah, well, you know what?
That's the worst name I ever heard.
Shots fired. Nah, fuck that. Everybody else gives us great reviews on iTunes because you guys are dope and we love you. Hi, everybody. How are you? It is the
Hey.
What If Podcast.
Hello.
And we got better shit to talk about.
How's that for off topic?
Yeah, how's that for incessant banter? Fuck with your boy. Hey, speaking of dope listeners, we have an update on last week's episode. The Contact in the Desert ticket winner is Eddie. Shout out to Eddie.
Yeah.
Boy. There it is. Eddie is going to Contact in the Desert for free 99. Thank you to Contact in the Desert for partnering with us and getting that ticket to Eddie. And yeah, should be dope. Should be dope.
It's going to be lit. I'm going to go to the Sound Bath Alien Summoning event on Friday night.
Man, bro. Oh, man. Mm-hmm.
I placed my weed order yesterday.
Is that a real thing?
Yep.
Oh, phenomenal. Phenomenal. Did you, is there a place that lets you do that, or is that a friend who lets you do that?
Yes.
Got it. Cool.
That is a friend going to a place.
That makes sense.
There are delivery places, but
Yeah, I just
don't
figured
know. Like,
you
hey
couldn't.
man, can you meet me at the airport?
Right. That's what I was gonna say. I just figured you couldn't do it from here.
Well, I mean, then you just call a phone number. You probably could.
Well, right. But I mean,
They're not going to deliver to my house in Minnesota.
right. That's what I meant. Was
Maybe.
where would it arrive?
Yeah. Hey man, can you like leave it under the bench in the Terminal 3?
Hey man, you know the In-N-Out off of Sunset?
I was gonna do so. Maybe like it was about a year ago. Our friend of the podcast, Nelson, was playing Coachella, and they went to some like weird ass Coachella 420 party in Palm Springs.
Cool.
Yeah, sponsored by
Party.
some dispensary, and they all got like these gigantic $1,000 weed gift baskets.
$1,000 weed gift baskets?
Like there was like an ounce plus and a bunch of pens and edibles and all kinds of crazy shit.
And when you are traveling on tour,
Dude was there for the weekend. It was
yeah.
the second weekend, no less. Like had it been the first, they stayed during the week, whatever.
Nelson's just driving his rental car down the street in Palm Springs, just chucking
So-
weed out the car.
Well, so they flew in.
Merry Christmas, motherfuckers!
They flew in and out of LA, and we were crisscrossing. I was in LA like later the day that he left.
Sure.
I was like, bro,
Did a handoff?
no, can we have like a treasure hunt?
Oh, smart.
Can you just like write me some cool riddles and hide weed around LA and I'll go find it?
I feel like
I don't have anything to
handoff
do
would
this
have been
afternoon.
more sensible.
Well, we weren't ever actually there at the same time. We missed each other by like a few hours.
I see.
I was like, dude, just go hide some shit.
Okay, you're going to go to Venice Beach. You're going to find the
Ask for
lifeguard
Brian.
stand 100 yards north that
Yeah.
one Italian restaurant.
No, this is too direct. It's got to be much more cryptic.
There's gonna
it's all
be
got to be in poem
There's
form.
gonna be a guy in an orange puffy coat at the base of the lifeguard stand.
Puffy coat at the beach.
He's got a
Is it
USB drive in his pocket. You're gonna need to mug him for
gotta kill him.
that USB drive. All right, then go to the nearest internet cafe. Yep, they still got him. Plug that USB
If
in.
anywhere does, it's probably Venice Beach, honestly.
Probably true.
All right, well, you want to talk about shadow people on that note?
Fucking A. Did we have any voicemails we wanted to play on the show this week?
Oh, maybe.
Uh-oh.
We did get a few.
Let's go.
Um,
Hey, everybody, here's a quick reminder that if you want to call us and leave us a voicemail, you could do that at 612-246-4614. Call and leave us an episode suggestion, or you could just yell and make fun of us and tell us that we do our job bad. Or you could tell Spencer that you're holding, what did Cam say he was holding hostage from you?
Cam's holding something hostage?
I thought he was.
If you want to hold some weed hostage for me and hide it in LA, I'll be there on Friday. Leave us a riddle.
Heyo. What if you found buried treasure? Part 4. It's just
Yeah.
Spencer like, all right, you guys.
Or if you get to contact in the desert before me.
That's true.
I'm not coming in until Friday morning, so
Bury it in the sand.
if I see any X's in the desert, I'm digging.
I'm digging right away.
All right, yeah, we got a couple of relevant voicemails we should probably play.
all right, let's do it.
Here's one from David.
Hi, David.
Hey guys, my name's David. I am from Greensboro, North Carolina.
Hell yeah.
I just got to listening to your episode from last night about the Brown Mountain Lights right
hell
above
yeah.
Morganton off of Highway 181. And I've never heard of these before. I've been camping right above Morganton, right inside the Pisgah National Forest for like the past 20 years.
wow.
I've gone with my family since I was a kid. You might believe me here. I work third shift, and I'm inside of a freezer making delivery to a restaurant.
My fucking
Anyway,
guy. I love this
when
shit
you guys
so much.
opened up this episode, I couldn't believe it because that is exactly where I go camping. We travel up to Morganton every fall. You guys said that a lot of accounts of these lights being seen is during the fall, and I do want to mention, though, I heard you guys say that there's not much traversable land on Brown Mountain. It is very dense and thick, but it actually is. There are places that if you don't know about them, you can't get to them, but there are campsites off of Highway 181.
Interesting.
Right inside the National Park Pisgah area there, where people go and camp every fall, usually year round. There's lots of fires. People do campfires and stuff. So I'm wondering if campfires and maybe gas is emitted, if there's like tons of sites, 15 to 20 different campsites. And these campsites take like 20 minutes to get to. I don't know, just a thought. Maybe campfires and everything is just what's causing this light. Love your show, guys, and have a good one.
Fuck yeah, David. Thanks for calling, man. Dude, shout out people who are just like in the middle of something else and they're like, hang tight,
I need to call
I
these
gotta
guys.
call this phone
Yeah,
number
yeah.
real quick. That's fucking dope.
David actually left us 3 more voicemails.
Amazing.
To summarize, he then called his brother and I was like, holy shit, that place we used to go camping has weird UFO stuff.
Yeah.
This podcast I was listening to was talking about it. And they're going to go back this summer and spend like a week there and see if they can see anything
Fuck
and then get back to us.
yes. Bring as much documentation gear as you can, because that's, I feel like the biggest missing piece of this is really good documentation.
Well,
so
there are a few.
there are a few, although what he was saying in there about there being accessible lands, that's good to know, because there was one clip that I stumbled on YouTube that was dead night, blurry, pretty far away. Someone was obviously zooming in on whatever digital camera they had, but it did in some ways, like, I actually had the thought, if there were multiple people wearing headlamps in a row that were like hiking down or up or something like that,
It would
it
explain
could
some of the sightings.
look like that.
You still have the issue of people seeing them above the mountain or starting on the mountain and then appearing
Right.
to raise up into the air above the mountain.
Right.
And then you also have some of I think it was the Nat Geo footage where the lights are moving way faster than a person on the ground could be moving.
Totally.
But it might explain some of them for sure.
For sure. For sure.
Um,
Cool. That's dope. Dude, David, follow up with us. I want to know if you guys get some dopeness.
also, we got about 11 emails and tweets and Facebook things about our pronunciation of Appalachian.
Oh, yeah. I fucked it
Is
up.
that right now? Appalachian?
It's Appalachian. not
Sorry.
Appalachian.
Yeah, we're Minnesotan.
We're Minnesotan.
We say things weird.
Gonna
Sorry.
drink my milk, lay down on my pillow. If I know what you're talking about.
We're just straight up
I
Canadian.
did.
now.
I went straight Canada on it.
We got one from Rob, but that's referencing the Patreon.
We'll listen to that on the paid episode, which you can get by going to patreon.com/whatitpodcast for $5 a month.
I
You get
never
another
mean
episode
to
every
set
week.
you up for these.
I
You're
know.
just an opportunistic
I know.
son of a bitch.
I am. Hey, look, you might be new here and you might want to know that you can get double the show.
Actually, I was saying on our social media today, great time to do it because I'm going to be posting a bunch of wild shit on there from Contacting the Desert
That's
this
true,
weekend.
man. You're going to be digging in the desert for weed and you're going to be interviewing Linda
Maybe.
Moulton Howe
Maybe.
and hanging out with fucking all the cool folk.
UPS is going to be delivering my microphones to the wrong address today.
Is that a real thing?
Dicks.
Bummer.
Mm-hmm.
Bummer.
We got another voicemail.
Okay.
Hi, Spencer and Ryan. This is Amanda.
Sorry,
I
you gotta
live in
start it over.
Fowler.
I was totally an afterthought. It was like, hi, Spencer and Ryan.
This voicemail's for me.
That's tight. No, it's okay.
Hi,
I get it.
Spencer and Ryan. This is Amanda. I live in
Sounds sad.
Fowlerville, Michigan.
Hi, Amanda in
I
Michigan.
was just listening to the What If You Saw a Dog Man episode and realized you mentioned the town I live in.
Tight.
And you also mentioned the town my parents live in. They live in Traverse City.
Oh, shit.
I'm going to have to look into this Dog Man stuff. Haven't heard anything about that. That's a little spooky. I have a
get got.
tendency to listen to you guys while I'm working at the horse farm I'm at late at night. It's a little unsettling to hear about aliens and poltergeists and things like that while I'm alone in the dark.
Don't listen to the cattle mutilation one.
Definitely don't do that. Definitely don't do that. Or do it at another time.
I meant to hit pause, but I closed it. It was a nice, she said she likes our show after that.
That's very
It's
sweet.
very pleasant.
Thank you, Amanda. Thanks for calling.
Don't get gotten by Dogman, please.
Don't get got. And also, we'll try to be funnier so it's less scary at night.
Shadow people?
Shut up, people. Yeah, speaking of being fucking spooky, let's go.
You want to tell us about shadow people first
Oh, man.
before we just get into? I just got a bunch of weird stories.
I like that you're like, hey, man, can you give him the real shit so I can take this thing off the rails instantly?
That's our system here.
That is
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure our system here. So one of the, all right, so rewind.
People that look like shadows is the basic idea. Or shadows that look like people. Hard to say.
Okay, rewind. Was this your idea?
I think
Shadow people?
I don't know. It's one of the big ones.
Was shadow people? What were we? Do you remember when we were looking at the whole map of the U.S. and it was what was the most popular sort of paranormal
Yeah.
thing from there? Was shadow people one of them? I have a vague memory of it being California's was shadow people.
That was the big weird giants in the hills.
So I thought they were shadow adjacent though.
They are there, but they're like giant mountain specific shadow folk. I don't think straight up shadow people was because it's not really a location specific thing.
No, well, technically all of the things on there have, well, I don't know.
But like
I've been seeing it in a lot of
Bigfoot
places.
is sort of a Pacific Northwest legend, and like
Right, but there are people in northern
Champ lives
Minnesota
in a
who,
specific lake.
sure, but there are people in northern Minnesota who will be like, oh, I've for sure seen a Bigfoot in Minnesota.
Right.
Long and short, I guess, was this is one that you're right. It's one of the big ones. It gets a lot of urban legend-y talk around it. But the thing I feel like related to urban legends is urban legends are usually, well, my sister's friend had a friend who one time they were sleeping and a scary, weird shadow figure appeared in their doorway and it freaked them out. Like, there needs to be a 4 or 5 steps removed version of the story for it to really land as an urban legend.
Yeah.
And with the shadow people concept or phenomenon or whatever you want to call it, there seems
Infestation.
to be infestation of shadow people. There seems to be far too many eyewitnesses, people who are saying, no, this happened to me, not this happened to somebody weird.
To somebody weird.
You know, somebody distant from me, not somebody weird.
Weird Emily keeps seeing shadow people. She loves meth.
Classic Emily, seeing weird shit.
Yeah, I'm always skeptical too, though, of like when you read stories online or in books or wherever we find weird shit stories
Yes.
for our here podcast,
Yes. For this here audio medium.
rarely is it a named firsthand account. It's an author who's compiled stories.
True.
Or an article that is retelling a story from an author who's compiled stories.
True.
It's rarely firsthand of, hi, I'm Bill Davidson and I've seen a shadow person.
That's true.
Let me tell you about him.
That's true.
He was spooky and he had a hat.
He was spooky and he had a hat. So, okay, so we should talk about it.
Yeah.
Shadow people, as the story goes, are apparitions that are mass-like with a rough human shape.
Did you say mass-like? Is that what you said?
Yeah, like a
does that mean?
like a rough mass shape.
Huh?
They're
I
not.
thought they were roughly human-shaped.
They're roughly human shaped, but they also have a lot of people report them being not perfectly proportionate human shaped. More of sort of like a foggy mass is what I'm trying to say.
I see.
There are definitions
Like
that
the
appear
smoke
to be
monster from
humanoid.
Lost.
Kind of.
You seen it?
I have.
Oh, shit.
I stopped watching after season 2 though.
That's the
'cause
way to go.
It was tight until then.
They lost the plot.
I heard. That's what I'm trying to say. Is it's not like if there was a bright light in this room and you were standing in between the bright light and the wall, the perfectly crisp shadow of your body is not really as much what people report to seeing, as much as it is more of a hazy human-like shape.
I came across this description. Indistinct features, often appearing somewhat two-dimensional, as if projections or lacking real substance.
That's interesting. I like that phrasing.
A lot of the specific stories I came across described them as being more defined in the head and torso area.
Yes.
And then as you would get below the waist and down towards the feet, it would be almost like a fog or a mist or just a very loosely implied lower half.
Got a loose butt, buddy.
Yeah. A loose caboose.
Loose caboose. The overarching sentiment is that they're not your buddies.
I couldn't find any specific instances of people being harmed by them, though.
I can't either.
Whereas even with aliens and UFOs and poltergeists and Bigfoots and almost all other things, there are at least a couple bad ones in the bunch.
Well,
Some aliens steal people and put things in their noses, and some Bigfoots throw rocks at you, and some poltergeists, flip you up in the air and float you down,
yeah,
make you puke your guts out, so on and so forth.
I did see a couple
Make you stink real bad.
skunky. I did see a couple references to feeling.
Oh, they'll spook you,
Well,
but they won't hurt you.
no, but I saw a couple references to people feeling like they were being like pressed upon or laid down on, or feeling a sense of pressure from these things on their physical being, which is a very direct tie into sleep paralysis type stuff, which we'll talk about later. But that's the closest thing I've seen or read related to harm. But the sentiment, though, is that they are foreboding in nature.
Yeah, people often feel emotionally bad about their presence. They feel scared. They feel threatened. There's just a general aura of fear when in the presence of a shadow person.
Which, let's be real, anything that you are not expecting to be there
Right.
is going to be a fearful thing, and especially because we instinctually as human beings are afraid of the dark and the shadows because they are inaccessible to our senses. They are also scary things instinctually to us. So you combine, I didn't expect it, I don't want it, and I don't know what it is and can't fully form it in my mind.
And 100,000 years of human evolution says shadows are bad for me.
Yeah, nope.
Shadows are things that eat me.
Yes. in those shadows are dangers,
Yeah.
then of course those things are going to be scary to you. I read in one location that they were able to bucket shadow people into 5 separate sort of
bucket?
general categories.
Did you just use bucket as a verb? I don't know what that means.
Bucket them into 5 categories. Are you not familiar with that?
You're
Putting
saying
them in
like
buckets.
sort?
Yes,
Oh,
put them
I've
into
never
5.
heard anyone say that before.
All right, you can.
For how long I've known you, like once a week, you say a phrase or a word that I've literally never heard another human say.
That's because you work in here by yourself all day
That's
long.
not
man.
true. I mean, that is true, but I do talk to people. I used to talk to people more. I've never heard another human being
I
call
have talked to people.
I've never heard another human being call a hotel a hoagie. I've never heard someone use the word bucket as a verb. You're full of surprises, man.
I'm gonna say you're welcome and just keep it moving, even though I don't think that's the energy you're coming at me with.
I don't mean it positively or negatively. I'm just,
It's just
observing. I'm just a shadow person.
It's an observation.
I'm not here to harm. I'm just observing.
Oh my god, you guys! I can't see Spencer. It's got so weird, so
I'm gonna
weird.
turn on this lamp behind me that you hate so much.
And then you will be a shadow in my mind because it's so bright. It just would halo you with light, and
That's
there would be
the
no
joke, that
definition to
JPEG.
your form. Okay, 5 categories.
Buckets.
Buckets. I guess buckets. Positive shadows, the rarest of forms, but described often as beings that are not interacting with you at all. They're just sort of
Bucket of positive shadows.
bucket. Put it on the list.
Yes, that's what I was going with that.
They're just a presence. They're described as like doing other stuff. So they're not interested in
kind
you
of stuff.
walking through your space, walking through a doorway, but just not having attention focused on you at all. Just they don't create the same sense of foreboding that the other ones do, largely because they seem to ignore human presence.
So these guys got good vibes.
The-
They're putting out good vibes, neutral vibes.
Or I would say neutral vibes. Which is positive based on the other 4 categories.
These are like the weed shadows.
Weed shadows?
So the people who see the really bad ones usually are on stimulants.
Oh, sure.
So if we're equating the 5 types of shadow people
See what you're doing here.
to substances,
Sure.
or maybe then the weed might even be. Sorry, carry on. This is a terrible analogy.
I was like, bring it home if you can.
Hell no.
No, I cannot.
Just the generally negative ones, which fit into the description that we talked about, being in a random place or space or in your space, often seen at night, creating a sense of foreboding.
Feeling spooked.
Feeling kind of spooked, often fleeting, darting in and out of the peripheral vision.
No bueno.
But there. Then there is the red-eyed shadows.
Mothman.
Maybe Mothman involved here.
Are they bird shaped?
Are they bird shaped? I've not heard them be bird shaped.
Okay.
Are birds moths? I'm confused.
Well, they call him Mothman, but he's more like Big Bird Man or possibly Batman.
Big Bird Man.
Batman and
Oh, we just invented our cryptid, gang. This is what it took. Big Bird Man.
I mean, Big Bird is Big Bird Man. He speaks and has feet. Birds have feet. He speaks.
I'm blown away that you haven't dropped the Nobody Cares from Big Bird yet on our
It's
soundboard.
going to be me the rest of the episode.
That's true. Big Bird Man's great. But there are people who report similar descriptions to the negative shadows, but their eyes are definitive and often glow some version of red.
Seems much more threatening.
I think, much more. I think, though, from everything I could gather, it's not laser pointer eyes. It's more glowing.
Like a Jawa.
Like a Jawa.
The little guys with the...
Yeah.
From Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those guys.
That was pretty good.
Thanks.
Nice job.
I do impressions now.
I have, I definitely somewhere in my parents' house, I definitely still have some Jawa action figures.
Yeah.
More like
They
that.
were basically shadow people, right? They didn't have faces.
That's
they wore
true.
cloaks.
Which is a perfect segue to
Do shadow people ever yell, Wootini?
I don't know if anyone's been awake enough to
you
hear
shoot
them
at 'em?
holler. That's what you got to do. If anyone here has pulled a gun on a shadow person in their
It's
house.
Bear.
That's true. That's true. Didn't Bear kind of have a shadow person story? Wasn't that the story that he told us was about like a dark figure in his room?
Man, he had all kinds of shit.
He did, but I think that was what the presence in the house that they had experienced was.
Yeah.
Bear's gonna have to
you're
call
right.
us up and reaffirm. But that was a good segue to hooded shadows, which is sometimes people see hooded people or people who appear to be cloaked or in a
Much spookier.
flowing sort of garb, but a shadowy flowing garb of some kind.
Do they also have red eyes, or are these separate?
Separate. I mean, I would imagine there can be some combination of all of these, you know?
Right.
And then lastly, we have Hat Man.
Yeah, that's my guy.
Hat Man is
See, I feel like that's less threatening than a hood.
Hat Man.
A hooded figure, a red-eyed figure, both seem more threatening than a hatted figure.
That's
He just
fair.
seems stylish, or possibly bald, or both.
But probably both. Yeah, I mean, I can get with that. But a Hat Man,
Does he
When-
do other spooky stuff?
when it is made entirely of shadows and is in your room staring at you when you don't intend it to be, is very spooky.
Is it because he
still.
looks like the Undertaker?
Um,
I just don't see why a hat is threatening. It's not a threatening object.
it's not just a guy in a hat. It is a shadow person that appears to be wearing a hat. So
Right,
it
but-
is all of the scary things about a shadow person. There's just also a hat involved.
That makes him less scary, though, is what I'm saying.
I don't. It extremely incrementally so.
I'd rather see Hat Man than the Jawa guy with the red eyes.
I would too.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
I'm also not scared by it.
No, for sure. I'm just, this is all
It's
incremental.
It's
but
more palatable,
yeah,
for sure.
I would have put him third, is all I'm saying.
For sure. But yeah, outside of the red eyes, no facial features on any of the 5 categories that are generally found in stories. And they are often characterized by some version of movement or shape changing.
Ooh. Icky.
Coming in and out, darting in and out.
So
Morphing.
You said the first 2 are they're neutral. They're the Switzerland of the shadow people world.
No, just the first one is neutral. The second one was just straight up negative in the original description. The third one was the red-eyed ones.
But their actions. Do any of them get aggressive?
No. No. But just the positive one was neutral or like not creating a sense of foreboding.
I wish there was another side of the spectrum. So if this is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if we had -1, -2, -3,
Sure.
the other way, and we had like progressively more helpful shadow people,
Dope.
like this shadow person does the dishes.
Or like or you know like shadow puppets when you were a kid making shadow puppets with a flashlight.
This one's got jokes.
This one's going to like become a dinosaur and
Right,
like
right.
fake eat a tree
Yeah.
just to entertain you while you're trying to go to sleep.
This one does a great Jimmy Carter impression.
Yeah. I envision some version of the carpet from Aladdin, you know, like not really verbal, but changing shape and being helpful and kind of like
A sentient rug.
sassy.
Just also quick dad dog's ghost blog, what we've been calling my dog lately. Sentient rug. A guy on Lake Street the other day stopped to like meet and pet him and he was like, "Oh, this is a nice rug," and then just kept walking.
And you were like, I can't even be mad at that.
No, it was great.
It's accurate.
I wasn't the least bit offended.
He kind of nailed it.
Yeah.
That's dope. That is the phenomenon in a large nutshell, I guess, because that took a little bit. But that's kind of it in a nutshell. The reports of this go back, they say, the proverbial they say, hundreds of years, if not more.
Ooh, like any good legend.
Like any good legend. There are some pretty good photos of shadowy creatures or people. Not photos isn't the right word. Illustrations in very old books of spooky things, fairy tale type shit.
Books of old spooky things.
You know,
The best kind of book.
the
Kind of books that appear in legends. The old spooky stuff books.
old spooky books. Goosebumps of the past.
Oh boy. Do you want to hear some stories?
I want to hear some stories.
Or do you want to hear ways to rid yourself of shadow people?
I want to hear stories about them. Then I want to hear ways to rid. And then I want to talk about what the fuck's going on.
Okay, great. So I have a few stories.
Okay.
I'm going to start with a couple that I found on the official Shadow People archives,
Oh, strong.
updated as recently as today, Ryan.
Oh, dang.
Going back as far as 2002.
2002. Holy fuck. Someone has been maintaining a website about shadow people sightings for going on 20 years.
Susan Fowler has been.
Holy shit, buddy.
Yeah, it's a fuckload of stories too. The headers
What a
on this
commitment, man.
headers on this website are home, coping,
Oh, God.
long stories, short stories, ghost stories, submit story.
Not to get like too, down on it, but there are a lot of people who, if you watch the documentaries on YouTube about this stuff, or you find people who've had these experiences, it does seem like people who have had an experience, it's kind of intense. People describe it as being not very fun.
I can't imagine it would be.
No, I know. I'm just saying it's not like having a bad dream.
Right, because you seem to be awake.
Right.
So I pulled a few from the, quote, shorty shadow stories section.
Okay. Shorty shadow?
That's what she said.
What's they're little guys?
The stories are short.
Like Jawas?
Yes. These,
3'5"?
correct. Done came to the club about 11 times. One night I woke up and went to the kitchen to grab a glass of water. I made it there without a hitch. Good. Do you usually have trouble with that?
Proud of you.
But on the way back to my room, a figure in the living room caught my eye. For a second, I thought it was my friend, but then I realized it was definitely not. Whatever it was over 6 feet tall with long legs that faded where its feet should have been. The only facial features it had were 2 red eyes.
Nope.
It was blacker than our unlit living room, and its hands appeared to be claws at its sides.
Gross.
I was frozen, mostly with fear, but I also felt like I was being held there by this being.
See, that's the holding like pressure shit.
One of its hand claws started to reach out to me, and that's when I finally broke free from its glare. And just like that, it was gone. I stood in the kitchen shocked for a while before going back to bed. I woke up thinking it was all a terrifying dream, but then it happened again, and again. It's not frequently occurring that I actually see a shadow person, but I can always feel something. I'm not really sure what they mean by that.
That's interesting.
They've had the same feeling that they had when they saw the shadow person?
That's how I read it.
Yeah. So far, they haven't caused anything physical to happen, but the fear is enough.
I mean, yeah.
So
well,
that's
fear's enough. What? Like just enough to be
to suck, I think is what they're saying.
okay. Got it.
It's bad enough being
That I have to
afraid
go
of this
through
thing
this?
in my house. Yeah,
Right.
even if they're not doing anything to physically harm me.
Right.
The sense of foreboding and fear and paralyzation is interesting, especially if it's. I didn't find this exact scenario of seeing a shadow person, having that feeling, and then later having the feeling without seeing anything. That makes me wonder, like, so it's not a hallucination. An hallucination wouldn't necessarily come along with that sense anyway.
Yeah, you're saying because at that point it's psychological.
Yeah, it doesn't
Like there's
seem
not
to
an
be
outside stimuli that's happening to make you feel that way.
and it doesn't appear to be a reaction to something like physically in your environment then, unless you can't, it's physically there but you can't see it, which is a jump for sure.
Yeah, but we've all had that. Like, I feel weird. Something's in the space, or someone's near me or watching me when
Yeah.
you don't necessarily actually experience them.
All right, another one from the Shorty Shadow Stories.
Shorties watching shorties.
So there's my 56-year-old mother, me, 35, and my son, 8, just talking about totally irrelevant stuff. When I casually...
What a great sentence. We're talking about totally irrelevant to what? I'm not sure.
My family is boring. When I casually look into the kitchen to my right and see a black figure cross from where, I think he means across from where there's a table.
Ugh.
So no human could do this. in front of the refrigerator and to my mother's bedroom. I think they're saying they saw it pass through where the table in the dining room table is.
Sure. Like walk through the table.
Yeah. Here's what I saw. It was blacker than the dark of the kitchen, a male silhouette, bald, with 2 arms and a torso, but underneath it was like a thick line of smoke and nothing else. It was fast. I saw it for about 3 seconds. I was ready to dismiss this as my brain toying with me, but I turned to my family and everyone else looked scared.
Okay.
My son had seen it and my mom had seen it. We all looked at the same time like we do to see my father coming home from work. Whatever it was just passing and didn't acknowledge our existence.
So this,
he's saying they all turned to look at the same time as if someone was entering the room.
and that one's interesting to me because most of the stories I had read were solo experiences, people in bed by themselves at night, seeing something in their doorway or seeing something near them. But a shared one, I feel like, is more rare in the retellings of these.
And when we get to some of the explanations, rules out a few of them.
Right. Provided you believe that to be a verbatim and accurate retelling.
Right. I mean, it's from the official Shadow People archive.
It
says official right in the title.
That sounds official enough for me then.
One, maybe 2 more from this section. My wife and I moved into a rental house along with my mother and stepson and his girlfriend. The house was located in the middle of the woods in Harrogate, Tennessee. Shout out to Harrogate, Tennessee. My brother-in-law used to live there.
What?
Yeah.
Small world.
Uh-huh.
Ask your brother.
To make a very long, disturbing story very short, from the second day in the house, we were all hearing things that shouldn't be there. The walls would bang, you would hear footsteps and other unexplainable noises. On about the 4th night we were there, I was in bed at 3:30 with my wife and laying on my back with her head resting on my arm. She was facing away from me. At the angle which we were lying, I could see out of the bedroom, through the hallway, and into the living room. I saw a shadow person that was blacker than black and about 7 feet tall. Damn. Roughly shaped like a person. It came from the kitchen into my line of sight in the living room. I watched it fully awake, come all the way down the living room and zigzag through the hallway into our bedroom.
Whoa.
It went around our bed and right past me and stood in the corner behind me to my left. I was kind of in shock. I just watched this thing come all the way through our house and went right past the foot of my bed, and now it's standing behind me.
How can you see something come down your stairs from where your bed is?
Huh?
If I'm in my bedroom on the main floor of my house,
Yeah.
what vantage point would I have to watch something come down the stairs?
He didn't say anything about stairs.
I thought you said it came down the stairs.
It came all the way down he said down the living room. So through the living room.
Oh.
And zigzagged through the hallway into our room. I think this is all taking place on one level of the house. So
Word.
he's looking out a bedroom into a hallway, and at the other end of the hallway is the living room.
Got it.
So he sees this thing in the living room, then come down the hall to the bedroom and come into the bedroom.
Stand behind me is a fucked up thing to say. I hate it.
Also,
I hate it.
Yeah, whatever.
Where what?
Isn't the head, don't most people orient the head of their bed towards a wall?
Yeah.
So is he like on his side and it's at the side of the bed? Because he said he was on his back and they said it was behind him. What does that mean?
Oh, like how did it get behind him physically?
Yeah. I guess not everybody puts their bed up against the wall, but I feel like most people do.
Maybe. I could imagine if you've got a headboard and a couple rows of pillows on your bed, maybe you're sitting up and reading
like
on your
parallel,
bed. It's like
but out of sight,
back
sort of
corner
Yeah.
behind you.
Okay. I remember almost laughing in my head, feeling extremely curious and amazed all at once.
Almost laughing, and then I fucking ran out of my house.
Right. I didn't move or make a sound, and all of a sudden, I remember what looked like a black tornado come out of the main shadow and go over my head, coming down towards my wife. She was asleep, so when I saw this, I pulled my arm back and my wife towards me, and the blackness drew back the way it came. I felt like it got angered by this. I felt overwhelming malice from it. And then it went into the wall and disappeared. We left the house the next day and never returned. Jason.
Jason. See,
Love Jason.
See, here's what I want. I want to talk to Jason.
Right.
Because that's a fucking crazy story.
Yes.
It also sounds like someone could have familiarized themselves with this phenomenon and decided to write a very creepy, good for
sure.
the internet version of it.
All of these could be that.
100%. And I think a lot of them are. When you go on Reddit, you see some of the Reddit threads about people who have had this experience, or some of the YouTube videos where it's people who are retelling their story on YouTube. A lie was born. It reads that way to me on some of these.
There's some overlap with the whole creepypasta bit.
For sure.
It's like, it's not as bad as Slender Man or something like that, but there's definitely some element of that to these stories. I felt the same way about a lot of the Black Eyed Kids stuff.
Totally agree.
Let's do one more of these.
Okay.
I had my first encounter, off to a bad start, when I was about 5. I was sleeping in my bedroom in a rental house in Terre Haute, Indiana. I opened my eyes to see a shadow standing over me. It was much like a black cloud, but shaped sort of like a person. It had no face or eyes. I was so scared. I tried to scream, yet had no voice and couldn't. Throughout the years, I saw it again and again. When I was sleeping, I would sense something over me and open my eyes, and it would be there. I now live in Illinois in a new home that was built in 2001. I've seen shadows in my bedroom a lot. For days, it was on my ceiling and shaped like a dark angel.
Ugh. Get the fuck out of here.
My daughter smudged the house and it stopped for a bit, but now my husband is seeing it. He opens his eyes and it is there. He closes his eyes and when he opens them, it's gone.
Goo.
Hell of a time to stop that story, but I guess that's that. Yeah. I sort of picked these ones because I feel like it covers elements of this phenomena that involve like the core principles, but also have like little extensions to them. Like with this one, I moved and I kept seeing it. And then my family also started seeing it.
Right.
Or I was with 2 other people who saw the same thing that I saw.
Right.
Or we were hearing weird noises in the house before we started seeing this thing.
Right.
And and that very well could be people getting creative with the storytelling and stretching a little bit so that these stories stick out and we pick them and read them on our dumbass podcast.
Right.
But these ones caught my eye.
For sure. No, I hear you. I think they are examples of things that add small pieces of realism to the core story by virtue of their details.
Yes.
For sure. For whatever that's worth.
I pulled a couple other stories. Trying to reread them quick to see if they add. Well, let's see if they add anything that we haven't already covered. Oh yeah, this one's pretty good. It was probably 10 years ago, back in 1999. 20 years ago, back in 1999.
Boop.
When I was living in a rental mobile home in San Antonio, Texas. My girlfriend and I experienced a shadow person in the form of a child. It was early in the morning, around 3:30 or 4, when my ex and I were in the living room sleeping on the floor. All of a sudden, I just woke up. I opened my eyes, and in front of me was a shadow that looked like a little boy. It was just a dark, dark black that you can't describe. It had no physical appearance of clothing, but just pure blackness. It was facing me for just a few seconds when it took off running to my right down the hallway.
Ugh.
The hallway light was on at the time, and I could see the shadow very clearly, which is an odd concept, but we'll come back to that. When it ran off, all I could hear were the footsteps being created as it ran down the hallway. The noise sounded like feet running across a wood floor, but it was a carpet with a vinyl plastic cover floor. He wrote this weirdly. But he's saying he heard the sound of footsteps on a wood floor, but the floor was actually carpeted with like a
Vinyl
plastic
underneath.
like runner over the top of it.
Word.
At the time I was so scared that when I saw it, I didn't move. Another odd thing about the experience was that my ex woke up at the same time. When it ran off, all I heard was, "Did you see that?" So I knew I wasn't the only one who had seen it and that it wasn't just my imagination.
Huh.
After that, we both stayed awake the rest of the morning just trying to understand what had happened.
That's interesting. So a shared one.
And a sound associated with it for the first time that I could find.
Yeah.
But an out of place, like the shadow people got bad Foley.
Yeah, right. I mean,
Throw the footsteps sound effect in there. That'll
It's-
get them. That'll
but it's-
spook them.
it's the wrong floor, Dave. They're going to know. Yeah. Well, and also too.
Also a kid, shadow kid.
right. And
Usually
also
they're tall fuckers.
with most of what we've talked about too, there is a amorphous blob waist down. So what would be
This one had feet.
Yeah, like what would be making an actual foot pounding sound if they're
His blob feet.
blob feet?
It was just squishy.
Squish, 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 squish. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or just like a hover, just a whoosh. Yeah, just a whooshing sound as the
Just making
kid runs
R2D2
away.
noises down the hallway.
Neenoo.
It's not as good as my Jawa.
It's not. It's harder to do though.
True.
Harder
true.
to do.
All right, that's enough stories. I feel like that gets the whole breadth.
Of the experience.
Now for the fuckery.
Now for the fuckery.
Would you like to know how to rid yourself of shadow people
Oh God.
before we just try and figure out what they are?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm nervous though.
Heidi Hollis has some suggestions for us.
Oh, I'm nervous. Nailed it.
Yeah, that was really good.
Thank
I
you.
didn't even need to hit the button. Learn to let go of your fear.
Thanks. Not helpful. Next.
Stand your ground and deny them access to your person.
Oh,
Deny them access to your person is
Yikes.
a terrible sentence.
that's a horrible thing to have to say.
You cannot have my person.
I'm uncomfortable. Please tell me the next one.
I'm disturbed.
I'm
I
disturbed.
don't know why I decided to do this.
Yep.
Focus on positive thoughts.
This is such trash, man. What the fuck is this?
Told you it was time for fuckery. Use the name of Jesus to repel them.
Okay, keep going.
Jesus says, "Get the fuck out of my person.
In the name,
In the name of Jesus, remove yourself from my butt."
I repel you. Keep going.
Keep a light on
Come on, dude.
or envision light surrounding you.
Good. What? What?
They're shadows. They don't like light.
I would have rather had her be like, burn some fucking sage.
Well, I got one more for you.
Okay, I said burn some fucking sage.
Bless your room
Yes. Okay,
with bottled spring water.
bro. Who is this trash person?
Heidi Hollis.
More like, no. No, I'm not even gonna try.
What's up with y'all?
I'm not even gonna try. Just
Stop
more,
being a punk.
more like no.
I'm a dumbass.
I mean, come on, man. Like, who's gonna? That's like being like,
Bottled spring water. Not even like holy water or anything. Just, I don't know, throw some Poland Springs at them.
bro, I'm about to write an article for our blog that's what to do if you meet a bear in the woods, and it's gonna be like, envision the bear going the other direction. Think bear-like thoughts so that it perceives you as one of its own. Cleanse yourselves in the bottle of Evian you brought in your hiking backpack
Face your fears, son.
so that it cannot smell your human scent. Just shitty bear escape advice.
Hurl yourself into the mouth of the bear because existence is pain.
Yes, there you go. If you dive fast enough into the throat of the bear, it
It'll
will
puke you
choke
back
on
up.
you and die.
It'll puke you back up and die at the same time.
Dude,
You should totally write terrible blog entries for us.
I would do it.
Then you can REI that shit.
REI?
Nope.
The climbing company? Or outdoor gear company? What?
SEO is what I was trying to get to.
REI.
If you put enough REI in your SEO, you'll get a higher ROI. I tell you what.
Hashtag business.
Do you guys know we run a business?
Hashtag growth. Hashtag business.
Oh, my self-employed days are numbered.
Oh man. Why does Heidi Hollis feel that she is Heidi Hollis? Why the fuck does she feel qualified to tell me what to do when a shadow person's in my house?
I'm a dumbass.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't even know who she is. I forgot where I got that from. I just thought it was funny.
Well, Heidi, I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna yell at that thing before I do any of the shit that you tell me to do.
I'm getting different on this one.
Yes, me and Ray.
All right. What the fuck are they?
So it seems like the most obvious explanation that gets touted a lot is some version of the sleep paralysis theory, right? People are unconscious. They're in some
Most of these
transient
involve,
waking state.
Yeah, most of these involve being asleep or recently awake or almost asleep.
Yeah. Your senses are not fully with you.
Yeah.
So your dream state and your awake state are crossing paths, and you get some
hypnagogic state.
Yes,
Right,
and there's
that's-
another one.
That's the one where you're falling asleep. Hypnopompic or something is the one where you're waking up.
Sure. There's also a part of that state. We've talked about this.
That's a good time right there.
What's that?
That state.
Being in between. It can be.
You can have yourself some fun there.
It can be.
Or people can sit on your chest.
Yeah, and try to fucking murder you, which sounds like a huge bummer.
Yeah, not what I'm going for.
There's also an element of that state of mind that relates to a topic we've talked about on the show a lot before, which is the whole concept of pareidolia. I always pronounce it wrong each time.
Where stuff looks like stuff.
Stuff looks like stuff.
Because your brain tries to find patterns and familiar things and fill in the rest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's, it's the whole, like, there's a face on Mars concept, and it's like, no, the human brain is just trained to recognize facial features, and there can be,
It's how you end up being the guy
random-
who circles things in red on NASA photos.
honestly, we should just have a red circle on every one of our cover photos for our entire show, because I'm sure people would click on it more often.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of it too, right? Your brain is at a place where it's not fully up to speed, and you're trying to make sense of the data and information around you. And sometimes that is the nightlight casting a weird glow, or, anything. It could be so many different sources or light sources or whatever that would cause your brain to misidentify something as human shaped or whatever.
Well, and then you add in the fact that your brain or your body sort of naturally paralyzes itself while you're sleeping.
Right.
So the element of feeling like you can't move obviously makes that experience much scarier.
For sure.
I don't really know what your brain does while it's dreaming, but it's some weird shit. And so if you're also if you're entering or coming out of that dream state, your brain is operating differently than it does while you're normally awake.
Yep.
So you might be more naturally inclined to perceive weird shit.
Totally. There's also the concept of peripheral drift. Are you familiar with that concept?
No, is that an eyeball thing?
It is an eyeball thing.
I went back to the eye doctor today. Your boy's A-OK.
At a kid.
20/20 in both eyes.
Damn.
Went sober this time. It was less weird, but also less fun.
Yeah, you don't want to get your eyes dilated when you're not sober. That would be a little freaky. A little freaky deaky. It's one of these. Tell the people what you're looking at.
A magic eye thing. A bunch of circles that it's not working for me because of the distance and how dim your computer is, but I think it's one of the things where it's a bunch of circles with smaller concentric circles in them, and if you look at it, it looks like it's moving even though it's not.
Yeah, that's the one. It's a concentric circles, but it's a pattern, and it looks like if you just sort of stare at it or you move it around slightly,
Right.
it creates a sense of motion where there is not motion. And there's the idea that people who are, again, also in waking states, or especially contemporarily, we're talking about people who are looking at, you got LED lights on your alarm clock, or you've got your fucking cell phone that you've been staring into for 2 hours before you finally pass out, or whatever it might be, and those light sources and shapes and patterns can totally be shaped by those things, which is, for what it's worth, we were texting about this. That's the version of this that I've had happen before, is if you're in a dimly lit space where you're holding a phone and you're looking at a phone, or you're focusing on an object or whatever, I've for sure been in a place where you see sort of like a darkish mass to the side of your eye when you focus your full attention on it, or your full eyesight on it. It's no longer there. It just was sort of a
but you also didn't think that was a little
interpretation.
kid who ran down the hallway and his feet made the wrong sounds.
And like, that's totally true, but I've never had one happen to me late nights or coming out of sleep. And I do think the description of, for a lot of people, it being darker than dark is always interesting to me. Like,
how so?
Because it's interesting to me that it's not, if you're in the dark of your bedroom in the middle of the night, everything is dark, so everything should relatively be the same color. It feels like the description sometimes is that this entity has a blackness to it that is not even exhibited by the room that surrounds it.
Right.
Which is strange to me.
Oh, yeah. You're just saying that seems odd.
Yeah, it's an interesting call out specifically that I think flies in the face of some of the more, natural explanations.
Just to throw it on the pile for whatever it's worth.
Oh yeah.
If you do a search for shadow people on Reddit, the majority of the posts exist on either r/drugs or r/stims.
I don't know what that means.
As in stimulants. This is a community of people who do stimulants and share their stories.
Oh boy, that sounds dicey. Snot and say we did.
When you go to stims and search, or actually this one's from r/drugs, and search shadow people, you get posts like, took too much coke and got a hand job from the shadow people.
Oh boy. Yikes. Stripes.
Or from r/stims, what do your shadow people look like?
Oh, so in this community, this is just
it's a common occurrence, apparently.
This is an accepted part of your habit.
One of the more popular posts is, I'm a journalist interested in the phenomenon of shadow people. I hear people on stimulants often see these phantoms, and I have some questions.
And a bunch of people were like, what's up?
Yeah.
Holler at your boy.
Mostly it's just tweakers talking about how they spun out.
Bummer. Mm-hmm. That sounds like kind of a bad time.
Mm-hmm. I would think, though, that most people who are sharing these stories on the forums that we were pulling from probably weren't doing a bunch of drugs first, or you would mention that. This seems like a separate category, but worth mentioning. Yeah,
I also have heard that the drugs cause sleep deprivation, which then causes the hallucinations, and there are ways to become sleep deprived that are not necessarily drug related as well.
Right.
So maybe it's
that would make sense
that
with
you
it
could
being specifically a side effect of stimulants.
Right.
Which cause you obviously not to sleep.
To be awake all the time. So yeah, I mean, I think you could be chronically underslept and still arrive at a strange hallucination. Could also be aliens.
Sure.
I mean, some people say that the aliens are just using their cloaking technology to come into our rooms at night, observe the human form, and potentially give us scans and reads while we are in our paralyzed night states.
Some ancient alien enthusiasts believe.
And that when you wake up in the middle of the night and you feel a sense of foreboding, it's because you were just being scanned by an alien and they were trying to get data out of you.
Hey man, that sounds pretty foreboding.
Yes, and then they're just sort of like hiding in the corner of your room like, don't see me, don't see me, don't see me. And their cloaking technology is good enough that there is not an alien shape.
I thought the aliens were usually short little guys though. Wee bastards.
But maybe the cloaking technology is using some version of...
Or maybe like one hops on the other one's shoulders.
One hop this time.
Mm-hmm.
They wear a trench coat.
Yeah.
And a hat.
They go Vincent Adultman on it.
And they wear a hat.
That's where the hat comes
Vincent
in.
Adult Man.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
I started watching BoJack. I get the
fuck yeah.
reference.
Sick. I've used that one a few times before, and you didn't get there. But
I'm here now.
You're there.
I'm here now.
That's my guy.
Yeah, that's where Headman comes from, dude. It's three little grays
Vincent.
stacked on top of each other with a hat, and they're like, now we turn on our cloaking technology, and they're like, worst case scenario, they'll think we're a person in their room. Best case scenario, they won't see us at all. And then people just think
Solved.
People just think it's
We've solved it.
That's what I think, though. It's people are
aliens.
seeing shit, man.
Yeah, seeing
People are seeing
aliens.
shit.
I'm with you.
People are seeing shit.
All right. Love you guys. Next time we talk to you, I will have experienced some odd things and maybe seen some aliens. and
Hey, summon the aliens, if you will.
I'm going to do my damnedest.
Go to patreon.com/whatifpodcast. You get an extra episode every single week for just $5 a month. You also get access to our back catalog of 70-ish episodes now, I
Something
think.
like that.
And Spencer's going to go to Contact in the Desert, and he's bringing microphones. He's going to be interviewing hella people, and we're going to put a ton of content from Contact in the Desert on the Patreon. So go check that out. Again, our phone number is 612-246-4614. You can leave us a voicemail there. You can also send us an email at hi@whatifpodcast.com. If you want to balance out any of our most recent iTunes reviews, you could go to iTunes and leave us a review on iTunes. It's at whatifpod on all of our social media. We love you. See you next week. Bye.
I'm doing everything that you would possibly do to get abducted. I have not had any close encounters and I'm pissed.